It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Joining us now is Roger Stone, longtime, of course, political consultant to so many presidents, including President Donald Trump. Roger, there are all these reports out there that your account, your email was hacked into. Maybe even Iranians had something to do with it. Tell us what happened. Roger, you there? Let's get Roger. Maybe the Iranians were listening to that, right? Or China, right? According to what Gordon Chang was just telling us. It's a wild story because apparently the Washington Post is saying that hackers were able to compromise the personal email account of Roger Stone, get information, and then somehow share it publicly. Roger, I was just asking you, I think the Iranians or the Chinese were trying to cut me off on the question, but what happened with what happened with this hacking, with these stories?
Well, it's very simple. Let me tell you how little I know, actually. Several months ago, I was contacted by Microsoft, who told me that an old email account that I had, but was not active, was still works, but not one that I used, had been compromised. And I said, okay, for what purpose? And they said, well, we believe it will be used to send malicious emails into the Trump campaign that will contain a link, which if you click on that link, it would give the perpetrator control and access to your computer. I asked if there was anything I could do. They said, well, you could change your passcode frequently, but beyond that, if you see any suspicious activity, let us know. Don't click on any link you don't recognize and trust. Didn't think much of it. Then I read a story in Fox about the FBI saying that there would be a coordinated effort by the Iranians to both interfere and infiltrate Donald Trump's campaign. Then several weeks ago, I got a call from the FBI who told me that they believe that my other email account, a different email account, again, their words, had been compromised. I'll point out at no time did anyone say hacked, nor is there any evidence that I clicked on a piece, on a malicious link that I was phished, as they say.
So do we know, Roger,
more than that, I really do not know.
Do we know if it's the Iranians? Do we know if it's them?
I was told by the folks at Microsoft that they believed it was the Iranians. The gentleman I spoke to at the FBI said a foreign state actor. He didn't identify who that was. I told him, of course, that I would cooperate in any investigation. There's not much to cooperate on. I can't find any offending incoming or outgoing emails, and I don't do anything sensitive or campaign related on my personal email anyway. So more than that, I do not know, other than yesterday, Microsoft released a report which said that essentially a former senior Trump political advisor who's extremely well dressed and has blonde hair.
And is very charming. They left that out too, right?
Yeah. They kind of described me, sent an email to a high level official in the Trump campaign. And in that way, they believed that the Trump campaign computer system was compromised. That's as much as I know. Now,
wow.
The FBI has said that this is the work of the Iranians. I'll let them do their work. I will cooperate in the investigation. I do recall when the FBI said for 2 years that the Democratic National Committee had been hacked by Russia, which is untrue. I know from my own trial there is no forensic evidence that proves that. CrowdStrike's claim that they documented that in a memo, but then the head of CrowdStrike's cybersecurity testified before the House Intelligence Committee and admitted that, in fact, they had no evidence that there was a online hack by the Russians or anyone else for that matter.
Wow.
So I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm going to cooperate in the investigation. It does make a certain amount of sense, Rita, because Donald Trump was very tough on Iran. Donald Trump's sanctions really bankrupted Iran. They couldn't finance the attacks on Israel. They couldn't finance Hamas and Hezbollah. They could not finance their nuclear weapons development program. Even the Chinese would not buy oil from Iran because of Donald Trump's tough sanctions. So, of course, Joe Biden removed those sanctions, gave them in excess of $100 billion in frozen assets. You could see why they would oppose Donald Trump. So it does have a certain logic to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Roger, before we let you go, too, what do you make of the fact that Kamala Harris has been, ducking? I mean, we don't even really know we know what her Iran policy is if she says that she has the same policies as Joe Biden vis-a-vis Iran, and you just eloquently described them. And you think about the $6 billion in cash that came in the middle of the night, the pallets, remember, under the Obama Biden term. But the press isn't even really forcing her, and that's a huge issue. How would you handle Iran?
I don't disagree with that. On my own Sunday show, the Roger Stone Show, here at 77 WABC, which is from 3 to 6 on Sundays, Eastern Time, I have talked extensively about Iranian influence and infiltration into the State Department in the Biden-Harris administration. Well, one of the deputy assistant secretaries has been suspended for security reasons. Another is currently under investigation. It may be the biggest spy scandal since Alger Hiss. Yes, I think the president has a host of issues to press Kamala Harris on. But look, they're running a campaign of hiding her. This is all hype. The mainstream media tells us she's surging in the polls. But when you study the crosstabs of the polls, the internal numbers in the polls, in almost all cases, they have purposely oversampled Democrats to jigger the numbers. They tell us that she's raised in excess of $300 million in small contributions through Act Blue, a payment processing website, but at least 60,000 of those, just in preliminary investigations, appear to be money laundered. That's being investigated. So I think we have a psyop here. It is a Democrat fake news media cabal boomlet to convince us that Kamala Harris is popular, she's well liked, she's surging. But there are no issues other than the ones that she seems to rip off from Donald Trump, like no tax on tips for service workers.
Yeah, and he said it back in June, and now it's like, oh, I've got this epiphany here. How does Donald Trump, the Trump team, break through that? Like you just said, I mean, this sort of mirror campaign, this sort of fake campaign, if you will, that's going on the other end, and her changing positions. They just got to show, here's what she said then, here's what she's saying now. Who do you believe?
I completely agree with that. First of all, I think this little honeymoon period is coming to an end. The American people want to feel like they know their president. They certainly know Donald Trump. He spoke for an extensive amount of time with Elon Musk, and there are literally millions and millions and millions of listeners. They haven't heard anything of any substance from Kamala Harris, and she won't get away with no press conferences. She won't get away with no interviews. She won't get away with no debates, which is what she really wants. And that time will come. If I were the president, my advice would be keep this on the issues. She was, in fact, in charge of our southern border. That's a fact, even though she's trying to rewrite it and say that's not true. It is true. And we've had 20 million illegals enter the country, 20 million plus, in my opinion, bringing fentanyl, bringing drugs, bringing a crime epidemic, bringing fiscal problems for counties and states and cities that are required to provide social services to illegal immigrants, even if it means cutting services on U.S. taxpayers. Those are her policies. Now suddenly she says she's going to hire more Border Patrol agents and crack down and close the border. Why would you believe that?
Right.
Why would anyone believe that?
And by the way, the new numbers, Roger Stone, that came out, $5 billion, as you talk about, and it may be $10 billion next year. I mean, those are stunning.
In New York City alone.
Yeah, New York City alone. Exactly. Right, Judge? Wow. Roger Stone, thank you. Keep us posted. We love having you here on the show, Roger. Thank you.
Great to be here. Many thanks.
Thank you.